Myself, Dr. S. Krishnamurthy, Assistant Professor, Chemistry, Government College, Harkivilar. Today, I will deliver the lecture on SEM 4, Group A, Paper 4, Analytical Chemistry, Unit number 4, under which we will discuss the topic of water pollutants and their effect. This topic is having the keywords of introduction, inorganic pollutants, organic pollutants, domestic pollutants, gaseous pollutants, thermal pollutants in water, radioactive pollutants, auto exchange in water, biological pollutants in water, pesticide pollutants, fertilizers, oxygen demand effect. Right. So in the first part, that is of introduction, as we all know that water is the natural resource which is a gift of Almighty God. But today this natural resources has been polluted by various polluting agents, and that is what we have to discuss in this chapter. So basically, if you see the water, the structure is H2O, and it has a unique character. It can dissolve lot of organic and inorganic components itself. That is why it has been said as a universal solvent. And what are the pollutants that can be categorized in a broad way, that is of inorganic pollutants and organic pollutants? Let us focus on one by one. In the inorganic pollutants, it can be further categorized of acidic and basic, your soluble salts, phosphate and other chemical agent. In other chemical agent, we can discuss the metallic elements, right? That is from the any agents, that is from the domestic use, that is from the thermal, that is from the radioactive pollutants, right? But if we say acidic, we all know that water having the pH, that is the normal, that is 7, and if it is below the value of 7, it becomes acidic, and if it is above the value of 7, it becomes alkaline in nature, right? And it has been seen that when there are a lot of acidic components, that is of HCl, H2SO4, nitric acid, any other organic acid which are liberated from the industries, factories and the other agencies to the mainstream of water, that creates the water, the pure water, to be in acidic in nature. Which basically acidic means the H ion concentration, value of pH, right? It has been seen in the pure water, lot of microorganisms are also present, which are helpful for the purification of water itself. But due to the increase of this acidic nature, these microorganisms directly or indirectly killed, and due to this nature of acidic, the water becomes pollutants. In this way, the first, that the acidic, how the acidic nature of the water pollutant and their effect has been discussed. Similarly, when we move out to the basic, when the pH ion concentration is above the 7, at that time what happens? Strong alkali, that is liberated by the domestic way, that is sodium or potassium, it forms the hydroxide, that is of sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, which are strongly alkali in nature. This strongly alkali in nature character causes the death of the microorganisms or fishes in the mainstream of the water, which cause the polluting agent in this way, right? See, the third point that we have to discuss here above the soluble. As I have mentioned earlier, there are a lot of inorganic and organic components which dissolves in water. When the inorganic component dissolves, it forms the salts, and these salts are directly or indirectly affects the entire human system, entire plant kingdom and animal kingdom, when there is an increase in the concentration of the salt, and this increase is due to the presence of the sodium, potassium, to results the formation of the salt. Similarly, in the phosphate, when we talk about phosphate, there are many phosphate compounds which are mainly liberated by the domestic waste through the different detergents, which causes the phosphate pollution. Then in the other words, what are the chemical agencies? Chemical agent, that is all the toxic metals which are the carrier agent of the water pollutants, like arsenic, chromium, lead. Right? In this way, a broad discussion has been made on the way of the inorganic pollutants. Similarly, we can discuss about the organic pollutants. If we see the organic pollutants, all the organic compounds, that is of carbohydrate, fats, oils, protein, aldehyde, ketones, and phenolic compounds, and these are the components which comes into the water stream via one or the other sources. Via one or the other sources means, if you want to point out the carbohydrate and fats and oils and proteins, these are the main components which are comes from the domestic wastage, sewage. If you talk about aldehyde, ketones, these are the components, these are the compounds which are liberated from the factories, industries of the organic products, which comes to the mainstream of the water and creates the water to be as a pollutant. And if you focus on this phenolic compound, aldehydic compound, ketonic compounds, which when added to water, it gives certain bad odor, bad taste also, which is caused the water to be as a pollution. And these are all said to be the organic pollutants which are mixed with that of the water. And this aldehyde, ketone, and phenolic compounds not only gives a bad taste or odor, smell, but also it directly or indirectly affects the human health. So these are all the agent of water polluting agent to be the water to be polluted. If you focus on the domestic pollutants, see the maximum 70 to 80% of the sewage waste that is discharged into the mainstream of the water, that causes to be the water to be the polluted. And this is via the above which we have discussed, that is 1 and 2. That means it can be classified on the basis of the cationic and anionic form, right? In the domestic waste, if you talk, the sewage water, that means that is due to the causes by the clothing, washing of clothes, bathing, using in the field of utensils. These are the wastage. These are how this pure water has been changed into the sewage, and it is about 70 to 85%. And all the cations such as sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, similarly all the anions which are discharged into this sewage causes its pollutant, causes the water to be the pollution. Similarly, when we talk about the gaseous pollutions, all the gases which are in the atmosphere directly or indirectly affect in the water polluting, in the water pollution. And what are the effects? If you see, if you talk about the nitrogen, sulfur, the oxides of nitrogen, that is, it may be nitrogen dioxide, it may be trioxide, it may be nitrogen tetrapentaoxide, that converts in the reaction with water to form nitric acid, nitrous acid, and these are all creates the acidity in the water. Similarly, when you talk about sulfur, it forms sulfuric acid. When you talk about the carbon, it oxides, forms the carbonate, and it forms the carbonic acid. Ozone, hydrates. These are the nitrogen, that is the basic compounds of ammonia, and primary, secondary, and tertiary amine, which results in the formation of the liberation of the protein and other components. Right? If you talk about the sulfur, H2S gas, which is the harmful, pungent smell, this also, which will combines with that of the gases through the water stream, it also forms as a water polluting agent. And in all these components that we have discussed, that we have studied, this are the directly or indirectly affects to the each part. What I mean to say is that each part means each part right from the microorganism to the human being, which are entirely depend upon the water, right? That means if nitrogen content is increases, it forms nitric acid, that will kills the bacteria, which is the microorganism. If sulfur content increases, it forms its oxides, that will kill the microorganism, and it will create the acidity in the water, right? Similarly, when you talk about this compound changes the amino part, which will be the highly basic in nature, and due to this basic in nature, all the fishes, small fishes, which dies in the aquatic life and creates the water to be the pollution, right? In this way, see, again and again we are going to repeat, again and again we are going to discuss this same property, that is of inorganic and organic pollutant, but in different way, a different mode. This directly or indirectly affecting our water to be the pollutants and water to be the pollution, right? When you talk about the thermal pollutions, lot of coal powers are there, which liberates its sewage waste into the mainstream of water, and from this many of the radioactive elements, many of the heavy metals, right, such as cadmium, chromium, lead, radium. This is all the radioactive pollutant agents which causes the pollution, and it directly or indirectly affects the human health, right? When you talk about the auto exhaustion in waters, that is rubber and gasolines, that means rubbers which are mainly made up of tires and tubes in our vehicles, that is of two-wheelers or four-wheelers. All these components are made up of organic material. When these are in the roadside, when it is rubbed in the road, they liberate certain organic compounds, and these organic compounds which should contact with water, and they are mixed with that into the water to fall in the main stream of the water and causes to be the water pollution. And in this way, see, in this way this rubber is also functioning as a agent, and their effect is also same that as the previous one, that is of it affects the microorganism, it affects the invertebrates, it affects the vertebrates, which includes the mammals series. When you talk about the biological polluting agent, as I have mentioned earlier, the pure water is of neutral, and it is having the large number of microorganisms. Large number of microorganisms means it has algae, fungus, virus, bacteria, diatoms, which are directly or indirectly helps in the purification of water by itself. And if this algae, fungus, bacteria, when if it is large area, if it is killed, then at both the case the water is to be disturbed from its normal way, that is of normal sense, that is it is water to be the pollutants. Similarly, when you talk about the pesticide pollutions, see, lot of herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, rodenticides. The basic example that we can discuss is that of the DDT and BHC. Herbicides are those chemical compounds which kills the weeds. Fungicides which kills the fungus. Insecticides which kills the insects. Rodenticides which kills the rats and the ants in the fields, right? But on these all the fungicides and insecticides, which when dissolves in the water and comes into the mainstream, into the rivers, lakes and ponds, where the human being are using it, it causes effect, right? Say for example DDT, DHC. These both are the fluorinated agent which causes a bad, harmful effect to the human life. When you talk about the fertilizers, see NPK, but before that, this fertilizer group can be further distinguished into two groups, that is of inorganic and organic. And NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, are the main source of the good yield of the crops. But when these fertilizers are added or mixed up with that of the water in the field, it's directly or indirectly comes in the mainstream of the water, and through that rivers, lakes and ponds, it comes to our physiological, biological activities of our life, which causes the harmful effect. If you talk about the biofertilizers, the basic example, what we have seen in our daily life, that is the cow dung which is used in the use of the biofertilizers, biogas. But excess of this material and when is thrown into the rivers, ponds and the lakes, this causes to kill the other organisms, to kill the other activities, and in this way it is also affecting our water to be the pure form, right? And these are the various forms, these are the various agents which causes water to be the pollutants, and these are the effects which are directly or indirectly, in one verse we are saying it is affecting the human life. In this oxygen demand effect, oxygen is the main part, that is of DO, right? DO means that is at what level it is from 4 to 6 pm, and if this level is decreased in the water is said to be as a impure, that water is said to be as unfit for use, in the sense of it is unfit for drinking, it is unfit for agricultural uses, right? And if this value is low, because due to the kill of the microorganism in the water, right? And if you see this oxygen parameter, that oxygen parameter is basically of three parts, that is of DO, BOD and COD. DO is a dissolved oxygen which is having the normal level of 4 to 6 part per million, right? When you talk about BOD, that is the biochemical demand, which is the amount of oxygen which is required for the microorganisms to kill the pollutants agents through a biological method, that is carried out towards the 5 days process, right? And in this way the water is being purified. And the last is the chemical COD. In this method also, it is one of the method of the purification of the water treatment process. But if one of this level, that is the DO, BOD or COD level is decreased, increased, it directly or indirectly affects the human health, right? In this way, in this lecture, what we have discussed is that what are the different agents, what are the different pollutants in the by our different groups which has been distributed in the main water stream and causes the water to be the pollution. And this topic is the books that are being referred as the Environmental Chemistry by A.K. Day, Environmental Chemistry by H. Kaur, and Water Pollution by V.P. Qureshi. So this is all about the topic of water pollutants and their effects. That's all.